Oh, hello there. Yes, well, we begin a new week, and I kind of missed the clocks yesterday, which meant I spent the afternoon staring blearily at clocks, thinking, is that the right time? Anyway, it was. Well, for some of them, anyway. Yes. It always throws me for about a week, that extra hour, or lack of. Don't really know why we do it. It's for the Scottish folks with their tartan. Yes. Anyway, yesterday was, well, one of those kind of who cares politics days. There was an intriguing story, though, from Saturday, because, the Free Speech Brigade do adore their petty-minded little six coppers arrived to arrest somebody because of a Facebook post. But when it comes down to actual free speech that might actually be important actually in the future in actual events, they remain, well, the tactic is to remain silent. So yesterday we had this from The Times, as well as various other organisations like LBC, the BBC, and even the Jewish News, come on to that. Met Police smashed down door of Quaker meeting house to arrest activists. Yes, Quaker meeting house, I should say. Great places. You ever get a chance to go to a Quaker meeting house? I highly recommend it. Some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life have been Quakers. Always recommend having Quaker boss. 20 officers handcuffed 6 women and took them to the police station is what is thought to be the first raid on a meeting house. Yes, and from the Jewish News, youth activists arrested over plan to shut down, inverted commas, London in anti-Israel campaign, because of course it has to have that slant. Activists arrested in London to meeting over youth demand campaign targeting a UK-Israel trade and accusing government of genocide. Now, you may or may not agree with that. However, it's really something when an open meeting to the public, widely publicised, ends up with coppers breaking locks on doors to get in, mob-handed and arresting young people for things they still haven't done. You would think that would be a textbook one for, well, the usual free speech absolutists. So, of course, it wasn't covered at all in the Telegraph or the Mail or GB News or Talk TV. And certainly that huge bastion of Toby Young that is Lord Young's boy, and indeed Lord Young himself, and indeed the Free Speech Union, Toby, as of recording this, a few hours before you see it, undoubtedly, but nevertheless, it was silent. The way that Toby Young usually gets around these things is, number one, to be silent, because no one's ever going to ask him. He never goes on programmes that actually ask him awkward questions. And number two, it's to squirm. And the way he squirms through it is, oh, well, they were probably going to bring the organisation into disrepute. I'm not entirely sure how you bring the Quakers into disrepute. The Nazis tried it, and I've always had a soft spot, for people that were persecuted by the Nazis in the past. I'm not really quite sure why. Might be genetic. Yes, that's the reason I always stand at my doorstep and have a nice long chat with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Have to have something going for them if the Nazis persecuted them. But those glorious historians that also, like Rafe Hadelman-Coo, etc., that are absolutists on free speech and, the right of people to do things, and indeed history, because, the Quakers were instrumental in abolishing slavery, which Rafe Hadelman-Coo, of course, sees the finest zenith of British history and everything else, the apogee, the other words which mean at the top of British history. And, of course, they'll just remain silent. I'm awaiting any word on Julia Hartley-Brewer, who occasionally can come down on the right side of this. But it really is a huge kind of one of those canaries in the mine, in the coal mine style of things. Because if they're coming after the Quakers, they'll come after anybody. And of course, you can argue, they might have been trying to stop the traffic. Yes, they might have done. In which case, why weren't you concerned about all those farmers? And the answer is, we don't really mind free speech when we agree with things, but we're picky about it. Sorry, that's not the way it works. It's a bit like them pesky human rights stuff. If you're going to argue that human rights shouldn't belong to certain humans, you have an issue which you need to go away into a corner and think for a long time about. Yes, but can we just not have the human rights for the people we don't like? No, that isn't the way that it works. Right, anyway, do enjoy your limited free speech going into the future. And, I don't know if Toby or anyone else at GB News, the absolute absolutist free speech lot. Good grief, isn't it disgusting? You can't say anything these days. You can't even say you're British, etc. I'll let you know, but ain't gonna happen, is it? We'll just pretend these things don't happen. And, you know, the problem is that given current laws, you still end up with people like Roger Hallam still writing very interesting stuff from prison. If you want to see the potential future of a mass movement democracy in Britain, I recommend looking up his stuff. There's some very interesting stuff bubbling around, which, you know, I get to know about because I get to know about these things. Again, moving on from yesterday's programme about just so much of the British media just haven't a clue about what's going on in and around protest groups because they just don't bother to look. Yeah, they're too busy trying to find the Antifa headquarters in the phone book. That's a metaphor for old people, all right? Anyway, do enjoy your first day of the week. I am about to begin 2 weeks worth of Easter holes in a bit, so I'm just going to pretend this week doesn't exist. A bit like our free speech absolutists are going to pretend that there is such a thing as free speech. Only for protected minorities. It's disgusting. Enjoy.